Happy Sunday! It's Last Call Sunday, Divisional Round Day 2 edition. I'm the prep queen, Ariel Epstein. We've got two games on the slate tonight. 3 p.m. Eastern time is when it's beginning. The Houston Texans are taking on the New England Patriots. And then at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, we've got the big game going on between the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears. Weather is a factor today, people. We are going to have some snow here on the East Coast. So make sure to check out the snow. Here in New York, it's going to start around 4 o'clock. And in Chicago, it's going to be really cold and snowy. To talk about all the games today, we'll be joined by Yanni the Greek, then Teddy Covers, and then Marco D'Angelo. We've also got the needs of the day. So for the people that love the needs, we need to avoid New England by 3. They laid 2.5 and 3 and took plus 3.5. So that's from Art over at the Superbook. They need the Bears as well because they have a lot of futures on the Rams over at the Westgate Superbook, so make sure to look at that for the NFL. And then some sharp college basketball. Green Bay, Wisconsin, plus 4.5. Wichita State, plus 9.5. UTSA, plus 21.5. FAU, minus 3. And Maryland, over 147.5. That's all coming from Art over at the Westgate Superbook. Those are the needs of the day. So really the needs in the NFL. Again, they need to avoid New England by 3. They laid minus 2.5, minus 3, and took plus 3.5. And then they also need the Rams to lose. But honestly, I'm really hoping that the Rams win because I have the Houston Texans and the Rams in a pick'em pool. Yesterday, I did lay it with the Seahawks. I thought that number was pretty fishy, laying 7 in a divisional game, third time around. And then I also had the Denver Broncos, who, if you guys have been sleeping all morning and fell asleep last night, found out that Bo Nix is out for the rest of the season. The Denver quarterback broke a bone in his foot or ankle, and he is going to be out for the rest of the season. So it's Jarrett Stidham's turn in the AFC Championship game. So if there really was a script in the NFL, I have a high feeling that Jarrett Stidham was not in the script. Yanni the Greek always knows the script. That's why he's one of the sharpest guys I know. Yanni the Greek joining the show live from Las Vegas. Everyone, the steam room is free today, by the way. And it makes me even happier. Yanni's repping my New York Yankees. Happy Sunday.
Sunday. Hopefully I'm coming through okay. The computer I usually use, the Apple's giving me problems, but I hired a full-time PA. They start tomorrow, so these issues will go away. I'm just not good with this stuff. So
yeah, well, we only care about what you are good at, and that's obviously giving us winners each week. How was your Saturday?
Good. I made money. That's always a good thing. And yeah, it's been a good NFL season overall, good college football season overall. I lost last Sunday, had a winning Saturday in football, but lost on Sunday. So I expected a good bounce back. That's exactly what happened yesterday. And we're loaded for Bear today. Today I got a lot of action, even fired a 5%. So we'll see how it
in NFL or college hoops?
NFL.
Okay.
Today it's all about NFL. I haven't released anything in college basketball yet today. Been really selective. Been winning. Been doing really good. It's been one of those weeks where staying selective has been paying off. I think since Monday I'm 20-9. So giving out only 30 bets, hit close to 70% of them, up over 30 units, and just grinding. And yeah, like I said, good games
the players
today.
are going to be grinding today. How much do you care about the snow in the forecast?
Listen, it's already factored into the price. That's the key. And you're seeing that nothing is really reflecting it. Like you don't see the total moving down 2 or 3 points. So the market doesn't care. It was kind of like we were talking about what quarterback was supposed to be possibly injured yesterday. Was that the Seattle or the Rams?
Oh, yeah. Sam Darnold had the oblique injury.
Yeah, all he had to do is look up at the board. The line didn't move, not even a half a point. It was totally fine.
The only thing that impacted was I really did love his passing yards over. I didn't bet it because of the injury. I love the passing yards over, but it was fishy the same way that his number was before the injury, 229.5, but he never went over 200 passing yards this year against San Fran. The same way that game was only 13-3 in the last week of the season. These two played already twice. They're divisional rivals. Laying 7 at home in a playoff game against your divisional rival is crazy. Like, the book was literally telling us the story, Yanni.
Yes, they were. And listen, here's the thing you got to remember. The book's going to stick to their power ratings, especially this late in the season. And the only adjustment they're going to make is for risk or if there's a big narrative. That's why I don't understand why bettors care what the book needs this late in the season. They don't need anything. They just need you to place a bet. Have you walked into a sports book lately and seen the bets that people are placing? What does the book need? They just need to open their doors. Like, people are placing the craziest bets I've ever, like, they're taking as negative EV as they take. They don't need anything. At the end of the day, they get very close to 50-50 when you get this late in the season. Yes, early on in the week, you're going to hear Team A is getting all the money because the line's moving in that direction. But by the time the games kick off, they're much closer to 50-50. Yes, there's always a side of books going to prefer over another. But I promise you, when the dust settles at the end of the day, regardless what the outcome is, the books are going to make money today. It doesn't matter whether the Houston wins, New England wins, the game goes over, the game goes under, Rams win, Chicago wins, game goes over, games goes under. The book's going to make money. Why? Because bettors are going to continue to place negative EV bets. They're going to continue to parlay these games. They're going to continue to tease these games with totals. They're going to continue to, just look for action. And as long as they do that, again, the book really doesn't need anything. As far as fading the public this late in the season, if that's the approach, you got to revisit the thesis. That's not going to make you money right now. Again, yesterday, what did we see? Money was on Denver. It was kept coming in on Denver. They even went the favorite. What happened? Denver wins. We knew the sharp money was on Seattle early on. Yes, they did take San Francisco plus 7.5. What happens? Seattle goes in there and blows them away. So again, don't be too concerned of where the money is. If you have conviction and you trust your numbers, that's all it's got to come down to this late in the season. Now, let me pull up this. Are we still on here? I think so, right? Ariel?
Yeah, we're live. Ariel,
here
we go.
I'm here. I didn't know if I lost her.
No, it's me. It was on me. That's my bad. It X'd out by accident. No, so I want to start how we make money on this game, because 3:00 Eastern time, you said it's hard when you come in so late into the slate. Like right now, people are running to the window or running to their apps and they're trying to get some action. 3:00 Eastern time, where is there still value on the board, or what is still a good bet to you?
Well, the good thing is if the lines aren't going to move much in the playoffs. So like that's the thing. You got to focus on what you like, because you don't have to get out. It's very different. Like the landscape of the market changes when you get to the playoffs. These lines aren't moving. Look at the Rams. Look at the opener was. Look what the line is. They're not going to move. The only time they're moving is around a key number or if a player gets hurt. So you don't have to be first. It doesn't matter about when you're, again, some totals are going to move, like we saw the Rams in Chicago. That under got steamed. They opened it at 51. That 51 was available at very few places. In fact, it didn't last more than a couple minutes. Got the 50.5, 50, down to 49. But once it got to 49, that's pretty much where it stayed, 49, 48.5. In the playoffs, that's what's going to happen. So it isn't really that the books are so confident that their lines are so tight, and they know they're going to get so much volume, and they're going to end up having much little risk. Because remember, we're all laying 11 to win 10. Whether you're taking Houston, whether you're taking New England, you're laying 11 to win 10. And because of that, the books end up in a good position. These lines aren't moving very much. So if you like New England, the only thing you missed was if you were able to get -2.5 early on. That was it. But otherwise, you could get 3 today. If you like Houston, you can still get 3.5 today. That's the beauty, that the same numbers are still available to you. Same thing with the total. Open 41, 40.5. We're still looking at 41s, 40.5. So again, it all comes down to having the right side. Personally, obviously, I gave out on bet on them. I like the over. I thought the over was a little short. I thought there was a little bias towards the under because of just how good defensively these two teams are as compared to their offenses. Like, they're barely top 15 offenses, but both of them are top 10 defenses. In the case of Houston, they're the number 1 defense. So you're usually going to get some bias towards the total, and that's exactly what we saw
on DraftKings, like 65% of actions coming in on the under.
Yeah, I think that's going to change. Again, the line don't reflect that. That's why
everyone's going to think, because also there's snow in the forecast and it's cold, that's also a clear under indicator.
Yeah, and not necessarily, because those are caused turnovers. Turnovers turn into points. Talked about that with defenses. They don't necessarily turn into a under, just like two good offenses don't necessarily turn into an over, because you're going to have an inflated line for the bias of the over. And as if you're going with two good offenses, obviously you don't want a shootout. You want the other offense on the sideline as long as possible. So, game plans tend to change. In this one with Houston and New England, they're defensive teams. They're defensive-minded teams. So I thought the total was going to come out a little short, and it did. And then with the bias of last week, New England not putting up points, Houston not allowing much points. Again, I thought there was some value in the over, but I will tell you this. I did see steam come in on the under in the first half. So, the under got hit. In fact, it was down to 19.5 up until yesterday when you started seeing some take back on the over. I'm sure there's still some books that still have that 19.5 out there. So we were looking at 20.5, got down to 19.5. So and you got to remember, like, these aren't the same groups betting all the same stuff. One group sees value in over 40.5 for the game. Another sees value in under 20.5 for the first half. Those are two completely different bets that can both cash or, both lose. But I see that all the time. And I even see that from the same groups, Ariel, where they'll go under in the first half, over for the game. To them, they're just looking at their numbers. That's all they're betting. The game totals, a little short on the over, we're going to bet over. The first half line's a little short on the under, we're going to go under. It's all about betting numbers. And like I said, the under in the first half, it has gotten sharp action, but over for the game has also. New England -2.5 got sharp money. Houston +3.5 got sharp money. That's just the truth. That's just me keeping it real for you, because that is what's going to happen for the playoffs.
It's funny. I actually thought that the Houston Texans were going to be more public because it's +3.5 and everyone loves to take a 3.5. The Patriots are getting a lot of the love. The Patriots and the Bears are the two teams that everyone publicly just feels maybe everyone's down on CJ Stroud because he had a horrible, messy game last week and the defense lifted them up, which I always say, Yanni, if you have a great defense and a kind of iffy whatever offense, you have a better shot at winning a Super Bowl or any championship than you do with a great offense and no defense.
Very true. Very, very, very true.
So how much do you agree now going into the night game, 6 p.m. Eastern time between the Rams and the Bears? How much do you believe in the Rams since the public's on the Bears?
I thought that the Rams were the second best team in the NFL coming into the playoffs. I made Seattle number 1 on my power ratings. I have the Rams at number 2 in my power ratings. So I do think the Rams are the second best team in the NFL. In fact, I thought this line was a little bit short at like that
3.5. You thought was too short?
Yeah, I thought the Rams should be about a 4.5-point favorite, believe it or not. I'm really low on Chicago, and I've gotten a lot of heat.
I feel like we've all been low on Chicago, and they're still proving us wrong.
Exactly. I've taken a lot of heat on bashing Chicago, and I've been wrong. That's correct. This is a team that's 12-6 right now. More importantly, they're 12-5 and 1 ATS, so they've covered almost 70% of their games. They've outperformed the betting market 7 out of 10 times. That's as impressive as it comes. And Chicago just keeps proving me wrong. They're a team that's won 7 out of 10 now straight up. They've covered 8 of their last 10. What's not to like? And they're home and they're dogs. But I can't overlook the numbers and the data. And the data still tells me this. It tells me that I have a Rams quarterback that's top 5 in passing success rate. I have a Chicago quarterback that's bottom 5 in passing success rate. I have a Rams team that had the number 1 strength of schedule. I have a Chicago team that had the 21st strength of schedule. I have a Rams team with that number 1 strength of schedule that has the number 1 offense. I have a defense in Chicago versus the 21st strength of schedule that's 18th in efficiency. That tells me the Rams should be able to put up some points against Chicago. On the flip side, the Rams' weakness has been their defense. They're not even in the top 15 in efficiency. Chicago, Not a top 10 offense, though. That's the problem. But they will have a tough go of it this week because even though the Rams are 16th, that's against the number one strength of schedule. Now they're going up against an easier opponent in Chicago. That's why I'm saying power rated wise, I think the Rams on a neutral field should be about a 6.5 point favorite over Chicago. Give Chicago 2 points for home field advantage. Maybe shade it a little bit more because the Rams, being more of a warmer weather team, at least that's the narrative.
Right.
So
and the west to east,
West
they
to
say
east,
is a tougher
all of that.
travel.
Let's do all of that.
But they just did it last week, so I don't know if that helps or hurts them.
So let's give Chicago 3 points for home field advantage. Let's go ahead and do that. So what do we make the Rams? They still should be about that 3.5 point favorite. So I do think the line is fair. I do. I don't think it's too high. Like I hear all the talk about, Chicago money line. I get it. I don't like it.
I can't do it. I can't buy in. I totally
like it. Here's what I will say. If you are betting Chicago today, you got to bet them on the money line. If you're betting Houston today, you got to bet them on the money line. In fact, any dog that I bet, I'm betting money line. And my subscribers know that. When it comes to the playoffs, especially when we get into the later rounds, you got to put some of your bet on the money line because the spread just doesn't matter. I know last week we saw it matter with the Rams, and on occasion it is going to matter. But you got to trust history. And history tells us 8 out of 10 times the spread's not going to matter. In fact, next week, championship, I think it's closer to 9 out of 10 times. You just pick the winner, you're going to cash a ticket. And that's the opposite of what we do in the regular season, where we say, the spread's the great equalizer. It's all about the number. In the playoffs, that just isn't the case. Pick the winner, you're going to cash a ticket. So what does that mean? The favorite usually wins convincingly or the dog wins outright. So today, what am I expecting? I expect Houston to win the game outright, or I expect New England to win by double digits. I expect Chicago to win the game outright, or I expect the Rams to win by double digits. I don't think the spread's going to help you. I don't think the teaser's going to help you in either of those games. I really don't think they're that advantageous. I do think you should be doing some money line action if you're touching any of these dogs today. Don't be afraid of it. And I do like that my sharp out just went to juiced over 41 for Houston and New England. So that's a good sign for those of us that have the over.
Yeah, that's one of Yanni's favorite plays of the weekend. Any props that these sharp groups are jumping in on today?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
I'm ready to write. I'm ready. Let's go.
Because we definitely have prompts. I'll give you some premiums that I even have for subscribers. You ready? These are 3% plays. I gave 2 of them for my subscribers. Since I have a 5% and the Steam room's open, there'll be more in there. But here's one for you. Woody Marks. Woody Marks' longest rush. Woody Marks' longest rush under 12.5. We're laying up to minus 140. So EV's probably up to minus 150. So 6 out of 10 times we think Woody Marks goes under 12.5 as his longest rush. If that line's moved, look at his overall rush yards. That may not have been adjusted as significantly. Always look at derivatives when it comes to props. There's creative ways to bet them. So Woody Marks, we're not expecting a big game from him. Longest rush under 12.5. Look the rushing yards for the game also under. And then expecting a good game from Kyron Williams. Rushing yards over. Went over 59.5 and over 60.5. Rushing yards over for Kyron Williams and Woody Marks under. Those are 2 really good prompts. What else do I have for you? That was the Kyron. Blake Corum. Blake Corum, longest rush over 12.5. Blake Corum, longest rush over 12.5. Yeah, see, I did see that Woody Marks. They bet the under in rushing yards for the whole game as well.
That's the most bet on prop of the weekend.
The under?
His rushing yards.
Wow, under?
Mm-hmm.
They're betting it. Wow. So they expect him. I don't like when I see that.
Me
but I don't know.
That MGM tweeted it out like 2 days ago that the prop getting the most action was Woody Marks under rushing yards.
Oh, I like it then. Oh, that's a good sign. 2 days ago, that's a good sign.
Yeah, it was a few days ago. It wasn't today.
That was over. That means that they
That's
were flooded with smart money on that under. I could promise you all that risk did not come from recreational accounts. Because those recreational accounts, remember, they're posting up, and nobody posting up has enough bankroll. At least the majority of those accounts don't have enough funds in there to bet NBA, college basketball every night, and tie up NFL props for Sunday. Maybe Saturday, maybe, but not that early on Sunday.
Right.
Props. That's all sharp money. That's a good sign when you see that. So I think they're just flooded from sharp money, not public money on that one.
All right, perfect. Well, Woody Marks under longest rush. I like that unique approach. If you don't want to bet on the side of what the books were saying, everyone's on with Woody Marks under rushing. Kyron Williams over his rushing yards. I actually did like his under receiving yards. And Blake Corum over 12.5 yards for his longest rush. I love those unique markets. And I love watching Yanni the Greek on the Steam Room. It is free today, noon Eastern time. What else are you promoting today, Yanni?
Yeah, I have my NFL package is up, all 4 sides and totals to both games. So again, I told you I'm low volume this year, and it's been like that. 30 bets in 6 days. That's 5 bets a day average. We're not betting heavy volume, but when the board gives you value, you got to take it. So I have the side and total in both games. I have a 5% up. You got the props already, probably a few more maybe added. So be in the Steam Room because live bets come in. I'll go over NBA. I'll go over college basketball as well. I'll answer all your questions. We'll go over year to date. And of course, risk management. So Steam Room goes live in about 35 minutes. And yeah, we'll go over all that good stuff. Oh, national championship's already up. Side and total for tomorrow night. Player props will be added as they get confirmed. So a lot of action over the next 24 hours. Best of luck to you, Ariel.
Best of luck, Yanni. You're wearing a Yankees hat today, so I'm extra rooting for you hard. We'll talk to you next week. We've got Teddy Covers joining the show right now. And just so everybody knows, by the way, my good friend, and when I'm on this show, aka my boss, Kelly in Vegas, just said that we are super close here at WagerTalk to 240,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribing to the YouTube channel at WagerTalk, please do so because 240K is massive for the WagerTalk fam. We appreciate you all being here, and Teddy Covers in it from the start. Teddy Covers a huge part of why we've got almost 240K here on the YouTube channel. How was your day yesterday, Teddy?
So my day yesterday was very simple. I've been running terrible in basketball all week. And I looked at the card yesterday. I had a really bad week at hoops.
Basketball crushed me this week.
What's that?
Basketball crushed me this week.
Yeah, I my decision-making was wrong. My short lists were okay. The games I was picking out of the short list were just wrong. And either wrong or finding a way to lose at the end. And so I made my short list for basketball yesterday. I looked at it. I'm looking at it. I'm going through the games. And I'm like, And I'm like, I just don't feel it. I just don't feel like so I passed. I passed in basketball. I had one play in the NFL. I had the over in Denver, Buffalo. That was easy. It was right. It's good to be right and easy. So one play and it won. No complaints out of yesterday.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And it's great because you and Kelly, I know on Mondays, you always look at everything really early here at WagerTalk. And then obviously Monday you say, okay, here's what the line's opened as. And then throughout the week, I'm sure you start to see things shift. So what's shifted since Monday that caught your eye for today?
So, the whole point of the opening line report, again, Kelly and I do it every Monday morning. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 back east, right here on WagerTalk TV. And what we're trying to do with that show is recap everything that happened the day before, so we understand not just the final scores, but what happened behind the final scores. Take a look at the quotes from important, relevant quotes from the locker room so we get a sense of how teams are feeling. We talk about, my powering numbers for the teams. When we had look headlines in the regular season, we talked about the look headlines for these games. And, of course, we talk about where the lines opened and where they have moved and where we expect them to move. That's the whole point of the emergency betting alert concept is, hey, if you want this side, bet it sooner rather than later. So we do have that every Monday morning. When we look at the lines right now, what's happened this week? Well, we've seen under money for the Rams in Chicago because of the weather. We've seen a little bit of Chicago money, but nothing dramatic. Most of it was in play on Monday morning. For New England, Houston, we've seen a little bit of Patriots money come in throughout the course of the week. That is, I think, everything to do with Nico Collins and the status of Nico Collins more than any other factor for the Texans. So that's why we're seeing the 3s and a couple of 3.5s out there for New England, where it was 2.5, 3 on Monday. But compared to your average regular season week, these lines haven't moved at all. Right. At this stage, the books know by mid-January where these lines and totals should be. They know where the wise guys are going to bet. They know where the public's going to bet. And this time of the year, the line moves generally fairly limited. We didn't see much of that this week.
For the first game between the Texans and the Pats, this line's been hovering around 3. There were some 2.5s earlier in the week. Now you're seeing some 3.5s as well. Total dropped 41.5 to 40.5. Yanni came on before, said he felt the total was too low. Where I know you probably have some stuff up that you don't want to say, but what would you advise to people, whatever you can tell the audience, what's out there right now for game 1?
Sure. So right now I have one play up for today, and it's in this game. Obviously, I'm on the side for the Pats and the Texans, and certainly, from a which side you like standpoint, there's a case you can make. There's a pretty good case you can make for both teams. There really is. I mean, I've undervalued New England all year. I really have, and it cost me money. I bet the Patriots under their season win total. Way back in the summer. So that was wrong. And obviously, if you're betting against New England throughout the course of the regular season, they've been not just a very good straight up team, they've been a very good point spread team. That said, from a defensive standpoint, Houston got the better defense. And Houston, certainly when it comes to recent playoff victories, the Texans have won playoff games. This is the third straight year that C.J. Stroud is winning playoff games. And it's certainly a team you don't want to sell short because of their ability to create plays defensively. That being said, we know how good this, and I guess the real question for me, maybe we find out today how good Drake May is. Is Drake
against
May
one of
MVP?
the best defenses in the NFL for sure.
Sure. If Drake May marches New England up and down the field today, we're going to think a little bit differently about him than we did before.
Well, we know whoever wins this game is probably going to the Super Bowl, so that's at least nice to know.
Well, if you're a Patriots fan, it is, and if you're a Texans fan, it is. But that being said, they were talking about this. Carson Wentz got hurt for Philadelphia in the exact same spot. Some guy named Nick Foles. Who's Nick Foles? Come and get hot for a couple of games. It's possible. Jarrett Stidham is not.
It's Kelly's Broncos. She's going to be miserable.
Jarrett Stidham is not hopeless. That's all I'm going to say. It's not.
Yeah,
There's no freaking.
I have a feeling tomorrow you guys are going to say that it was too many points. Like that, you guys will say that they are going to overreact to the Jarrett Stidham news. Like I have a feeling that that's going to be the narrative when the lines come out.
Did you see what Johnny just posted?
No.
He said, "Congratulations, we just this moment passed 240,000 subscribers on."
Woo! Good job, everyone.
Whoever you were, we really appreciate it, guys. The likes, the comments, the follows, it makes all the difference. It makes my day. It makes Ariel's day. And 2 kids from Rockland. What are you going to do? You got to make their day every once in a while. But really, thank you guys for all your support. And if you haven't subscribed, it's not too late. You can be 240,001. Just do it right.
Yeah. And I just told Kelly, someone in the chat said, when you hit $250,000, that we should do a nice little special for people. So I'm sure that that's the case. That there will be something, Johnny Detroit. I'm just saying it now that you should do a little special to promote people to subscribe to get to 250K. That would be a ton of fun once we hit that. Teddy, the late game tonight, we do have the Chicago Bears and the Rams. This one, everyone's waiting for. I love hearing from my friends that say, I can't wait for this game. Like, I'm excited to see all the games because obviously there's so many things from an NFL perspective, like winning in the trenches in this 3 p.m. game. The 6:30 game, though, is the big headliner for a reason. They have left that 3.5 up on the Bears all week long. How much do you believe? Because I believe that the Bears are frauds just as much as you haven't had faith in the Pats. What about you?
So the Bears are frauds, but the Bears are frauds with a quarterback who has guided them to 7 victories this season when they trailed at the 2-minute warning. So they're frauds with confidence, and that means something. They're frauds that have found ways all season long to steal games. They're frauds whose defense continues to create turnovers. And they're frauds who live in the cold and don't have to worry about, how am I going to acclimate after living in LA for the last 6 years, like a creaky, injury-riddled Matthew Stafford. You can make a case for the Bears today. You can make a strong case for the Bears today. This is one of those games. Okay, weather doesn't matter 98% of the time in the NFL. But the 2% of the time that it does matter, it can matter a lot. This is going to be miserable conditions. This is going to be gut this game out. Who's tougher? Chicago's tough. They're mentally tough. Not that the Rams aren't, But I'm not looking at the Bears as must lose in this game. The Rams, how it's easy for LA. Oh, they're the way better team. The circumstances surrounding LA in this contest. And look, LA was punched in the face last week and they punch back. We like teams that are battle tested. LA certainly, no shortage of hunger for the Rams. And the experience with the hunger is a really powerful combination for LA. That Chicago doesn't have that experience. But laying more than a field goal in these conditions with this quarterback and his track record in cold games, I couldn't get there. So, I understand if you do. There's a case to be made for the Rams. I get it. But can anyone say they're going to be shocked if the Bears are down 14-3 going to the fourth quarter and Caleb Williams puts together a rally and rallies them back? I can't say you'd be shocked because it's happened 7 times already this year. More than that even. Look at the four. There's also the games you didn't win, like the 49er game, where, Caleb Williams is good. The Bears offense is good. And the defense has made plays all year. So it's not consistent. But for all the frauds that the Bears are, they can give the Rams a game.
How much do you believe the NFC is the Super Bowl champion?
Not that much.
No?
No. Why? So the Rams would be favored over everyone, and Seattle's going to be favored over anyone that's not the Rams. So they'll be chalk. But big chalk, doesn't matter which of the 3 remaining AFC teams get there. Obviously, it's not Josh Allen, so the AFC team's likely to be favored. But does that mean the AFC team can't win? Go look at the track record of chalk in the Super Bowl for the last 10 years. You don't want to be laying points in February. You only want to be taking points.
I like that insight, and I'm sure we'll get more of that as the time goes on. Teddy, how much do you bet props in the playoffs?
A lot more when the Super Bowl rolls around, but it's not like we don't look at them now.
Okay, no props, but Teddy covers. Find him at Teddy_covers. What are you promoting today?
We're talking NFL, obviously. The NFL's been really good. 14-7, 67% over the last, I think it's 7 weeks now. So single best bet for Patriots and Texans. And we're still perusing the NBA card. I'm not playing anything in college today. There's a chance I may well post in the NBA over the course of the next hour or so. So check my homepage, wt.buzz/TC.
Great stuff as always, Teddy, and catch him tomorrow with Kelly, and they will preview all of the lines right when they come out. Well, a little bit after they come out on Sundays. On Mondays, they look at it. Teddy, we'll see you again next week, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Ariel.
Joining the show now, last and certainly not least, even though now we both have our teams out of the playoffs, which we kind of saw coming, and our head coaches are both gone. Marco D'Angelo back in action here on Wager Talk. Before we dive into the weekend, your head coach Mike Tomlin is now out of Pittsburgh. They say today that they're still open to potentially bringing back Aaron Rodgers. How are you feeling about the state of the Steelers?
This is what I thought would end up happening. I thought that he would resign at the end of the year. It's been a long year for Coach Tomlin, and the way that it ended on Monday night, I could just see it in his eyes. He's had enough. As far as Aaron Rodgers coming back, I really thought that there was a good shot that he would come back next year, given, the way they finished the season minus the last game. But I don't know now with the last game, the way it went, and with Coach Tomlin gone, I don't know that Aaron Rodgers would come back. And stories have surfaced from some locker room reporter leaked it out that Aaron Rodgers was visibly upset when Tomlin told the team that he was resigning, stepping down. And he was quoted as saying Aaron Rodgers gave him a hug and said, "I'm sorry." Like Rodgers put it on him.
Oh, I'm glad
we'll see what happens.
It was a long time coming that they at least had a respectable quarterback in that room and a respectable head coach for Aaron Rodgers. So very happy for the both of them to at least have that. Let's dive into today because everyone just wants some winners. We've got game 1, 3 p.m. Eastern time, Houston Texans on the road at the New England Patriots. Line has fluctuated between -2.5, 3, 3.5. We've gotten conflicting viewpoints from Yanni and from Teddy. How do you see this game playing out? And again, the total 2 has dropped by a point.
Yeah, well, when you look at a game like this, obviously, we've got two of the better defenses here. And the narrative in this game is going to be one of the narratives that's in the next game as well. Because when we talk about New England and we talk about Chicago, everybody's going to make the reference and they're going to point out the schedule. Okay. And that's what we do. I mean, we have to handicap what we have. And New England had a softer schedule. Why did they have a softer schedule? Because they had a bad record last year. That's what you get. And the same thing with Chicago. They had a very easy schedule for most of the season, but they took care of business. Now, the second part, when we get to Chicago, we'll talk about how they've won their games. But when we look at New England, you've got a new head coach in Mike Vrabel and what he has done there, and the maturity of how much Drake May has gone from his rookie season to year 2. Remember, last year, he didn't start the season. He didn't become the quarterback till later in the season last year. So this is a guy that's just a little bit over a full year of NFL games, and he is getting better by the week. And last week, he's the reason they beat the Chargers. Now, to me, I think when people look at the two games last week, they look at Houston's win over Pittsburgh, and they look at New England's win over the Chargers. I think the New England win looked more impressive to the eye test because they shut down the Chargers from the start. The Chargers scored three points. You had a good quarterback in Justin Herbert that couldn't get anything going. He was under duress the entire game. But that offensive line for the Chargers is horrible. We've seen it all year because of the injuries. When he did have time to throw, Herbert was completing passes and they were, getting gains. But the problem was he was getting sacked too many times or having to run for his life or throw the ball away. That's not going to happen this week against the Texans. They've got a good offensive line. CJ Stroud, he's not really a scrambling quarterback, but he's definitely more elusive than Justin Herbert is. Now, the problem with CJ Stroud is, will he have 3 turnovers like last week? But give that Houston credit defense-wise. They kept putting themselves in bad positions, and they totally shut down the Steelers. And granted, the Steelers offense, we know the problems that they've had at different times during the season, but Pittsburgh couldn't get anything going. I am a big proponent of defense, and Houston has by far the best defense. I group the defenses in the NFL as 1 and 1A, and 1 is Houston, 1A is Seattle. And we saw what Seattle did last night to the 49ers. I think Houston gets the job done, and they've got the game plan, because the only reason that New England had as much success as they did was because of Drake May and his feet. He extended drives with his feet because everybody was turning their back and going in coverage. That's not going to happen this week. Houston saw the game film. They'll be prepared for that. They'll leave a spy on him. He's going to have to beat the Texans with his arm, not with his feet this week. And I don't know that he can do it against the defense of this caliber. Houston's held 9 of 12 of their last 12 opponents to under 100 yards rushing. If you can make a team one-dimensional, it's so much easier to defend. And if you look at the full body of work for the season, they've played 18 games. They've held 15 of those 18 opponents to 21 or fewer points. Give me the points with the Texans.
I love to hear it. That's what I have in my pick'em pool. And I thought my pick'em pool was over in the regular season. And joke's on me. We go all the way through the Super Bowl and the points just get higher. So even though I finished number 1 in the regular season, it meant nothing. So I need the Houston Texans today. I also need the Los Angeles Rams. And I don't know if you're on the same side as me, but I don't like the Bears. They have been frauds. They screwed me out of the Packers last week. And I'm just going to go back to the well and say that the Los Angeles Rams, even though the book deemed them as 10.5-point favorites last week against Carolina, going into this week being road favorites, laying 3.5, the narrative the Rams are a West Coast team. They're used to the warm weather. They play indoors. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. How much are you buying into this public narrative?
Well, first of all, let's address the weather. Yes, that's if I hear one more time that Stafford's 1-9 in the cold, that's great. But every game is on its own merit. And do you remember the game in the playoffs last year against Philadelphia?
Yeah,
it was cold in Philadelphia, and yeah, they lost the game.
If you're going to retire potentially, right? If Matthew Stafford says there's a chance he retires this year, then wouldn't you not give two craps after an entire incredible career to try and cap it off with a Super Bowl ring to send you off into a potential Hall of Fame? Like, I don't care if it snows and I don't care if it's cold if I'm thinking of retiring.
He played well last year in Philadelphia. They could have won that game. Could have. They were in it against the Eagles last year in Philadelphia. So I'm not going to let that part bother me. Because you watch Bet on it. The year we've had involving the Chicago Bears. They have been an absolute pain in my ass. Can I say that? Because we've gone against them in different spots. We've taken them in a couple spots, and it seems like it doesn't matter if I'm with or against them, they find a way to beat me. I was on Green Bay big last week, and again, give Chicago credit. They found a way to come back and win that game. But, how much of that comeback win was, Green Bay with just absolute idiotic clock management down the stretch with what they did in that game. So again, they get it done. But I found a different way to play this game, Ariel.
I'm all
and
ears.
this is what I'm going to do with it. And because the Rams, and if we want to talk about that narrative about the cold, when are you going to be at your best in this game? If the cold is going to be a factor for you, it's going to be in the first half. You got the adrenaline running. You're coming out of the locker room. You're warm. He'd say, "Oh, I hope he's not telling us to take the dogs now. Come on, we're not taking the dogs here." First game, yes, he's agreeing with us, but we're going to take the Rams first half. And here's my narrative for that. And I've got several reasons why we're going to look this way.
It.
You got the Rams -2.5 first half. One, that McVay, offensive-minded coach, okay? He has that script, all right? They come out, their first drives are always impressive, all right? They know what they're going to do. And they want the ball whenever, if they win the coin toss, they generally are going to take the ball. So we're going to go ahead and lay the 2.5 with them. Whether you come out, you just come out of the locker room, you're warm, you're going to start the game. Cold's not going to affect you at the beginning of the game as much as it would affect you coming out of halftime after you've been out there playing, sweating, cold, go in, thaw out for 15 minutes, come back out. Okay, that's when your old body, as Teddy just like to say, an old Matthew Stafford that's been on the West Coast, with the sand and the sun and the surf, might feel it a little bit more. But here's the reality of it. Last 6 games, this is the scores at halftime for the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to go backwards from last week. 21-3, they were down to Green Bay. 2 weeks before that, final game of the season, down 13-0 to the Lions, which, by the way, was the only cash I've had against the Bears. I had the Lions in that game. San Francisco, down 28-21 at the half. Against Green Bay, the second meeting of the regular season, down 6-0 at half. The only game they were winning at halftime in the last 6 games was Cleveland. Playing them at home, they were up 14-0. And then the week before that, they played Green Bay. At Green Bay, they were down 14-3 at the half. 5 out of 6 of their last games, they've been down at the half. Last 2 months of the season, average score for the Rams, first half, 17-12 in favor of the Rams. Last 2 months of the season, Chicago, halftime score, 8.7 to 12.1 down. They're only averaging 8 points per game first half last 2 months of the season. That's the narrative I'm going to go with. I'm going to take the Rams first half, and then whatever happens in the second half can happen. But I do agree. I like the Rams, if you ask me who I want for the full game, it is the Rams, but I'm going to attack it differently and go with Rams first half.
I like that play. I like it a lot. A lot of people have actually mentioned that to me about not trusting the Bears in the second half in regards to, having laying points against them. They always find a way in the second half to make it close. So at least just go with the first half. I like that approach.
Let's change the narrative on them because me, VR, Kelly, we all are calling them frauds.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe we might have to change the narrative and say maybe they're a team of destiny.
No. The only destiny is them losing. I hope so, at least. Let's give it up for Marco D'Angelo. Marco in Vegas is where you can find him. What are you promoting today?
Well, I do have a play. I told you two plays that I like in football today. One of them is a 4% play over at WagerTalk. Last 2 years, college and NFL combined, we're number 2 in money one at WagerTalk. We've been ultra consistent. College basketball is off to a good start. We're hitting 63% for the season. I go very cautiously in the month of December with college basketball because my wheelhouse is conference play. I love conference play, especially when we get into the second meetings in some of these conferences. So jump on board. We've got the deal at WagerTalk. It's the best deal going right now. You can buy a 7-day package of your favorite capper for the price of a 3-day. Just $69. You get every play, every sport, and that includes 5% plays when we have them. And those 5% plays sell for $35 by themselves. Me personally, on a 41-19 run over the last 2 years with my 5% plays. So be sure to grab a 7-day all access from your favorite capper at WagerTalk.
Marco D'Angelo, find him at Marco in Vegas. Thanks as always for coming on the show, and good luck today.
No problem. Thanks, Ariel.
I've got a few props to mention. A lot of people are loving Christian Kirk because Nico Collins is out, and Christian Kirk has looked really good for the Houston Texans last week, right? Well, you know who actually has done the best on the Houston Texans without Nico Collins? Xavier Hutchinson. He's put up in the 2 games without Nico Collins 69 and 84 receiving yards. His prop was 26.5 earlier this week, and it's already up to 28.5. So go and grab Xavier Hutchinson and his over receiving yards. Drake May, I've been betting the under on his completions the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to go back to it. It was 20.5 last week. We hit the under. I'm going to go back to under 19.5 completions. Against teams top 10 in completions allowed, Drake May is averaging 18 completions a game. That drops to 17 at home. He's getting a Houston team allowing the 7th least completions per game at 18. 65% of quarterbacks have gone under their completion prop when facing the Houston Texans. So Drake May under completions and the over on Xavier Hutchinson. I don't want to bet the New England running backs, to be honest. I know Ramondre Stevenson's props have gone up and Trevion Henderson's have dropped. Houston's allowing the 4th least rushing yards per game. I have zero interest in this. I don't like choosing between backs, and I don't like the matchup for the running backs either. Hunter Henry has been great at home, but the Texans have been really good against tight ends this season. 61% of tight ends have gone under their prop, but Hunter Henry at home, I cannot fade him. So again, I'll probably just stay away. Caleb Williams, the prop I liked the most on him was his pass attempt prop, over 32.5. He's actually averaging 38 pass attempts a game when against teams bottom 10 in pass attempts allowed. At home in prime time, he's averaging 36 pass attempts per game, going over in 3 of 4. The Rams allow the 7th most pass attempts per game. If you're going to win or you're going to try to win, you got to attack the Rams secondary. So I would take the over on the pass attempts for Caleb Williams. I can't decide between the Bears wide receivers. It's a really good matchup for Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Problem is deciding between the two. I would go longest reception over on one of them. I will say, looking game by game, the number 1 deep threats have been pretty limited. So maybe since Odunze went over last week and DJ Moore didn't, maybe they flip-flop and DJ Moore has a big catch this week. 16.5 is the prop. He's averaging 19 yards per longest reception when he's up against teams bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to wide receivers. Problem is at home that only drops to 12 yards per longest reception. Rome Odunze has actually been the best one, 28 receiving yards per longest catch, and at home that number stays the same. But again, it concerns me. He had a 27-yard catch last week, his first game back since November 28th. why is this number 17.5 and why is it not 20.5, 21.5? So it does scare me a little bit. Yanni gave out earlier Kyren Williams over rushing yards, 59.5 and 60.5. I like Kyren Williams under receiving yards. So I guess it could go hand in hand if you feel like the Rams running back is not going to be as involved in the passing game as he is in the run game. Against teams top 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs, Kyren Williams is not, he's gone under 10.5. Oh, it's his longest catch, I think. Yeah, his longest catch. Oh, it's a tough one. Chicago, 10th leads receiving yards per game to running backs, 59% went under. But the ones that I probably like the most are the Caleb Williams over pass attempt prop, the Drake May under completions prop, and the Xavier Hutchinson over receiving yards prop. If you do want CJ Stroud numbers without Nico Collins, it's a 10-game sample size. He actually is averaging 220.5 passing yards with him and 228 without him, so 8 yards more. Completions don't change much. He averages like one more pass attempt per game. So it's really the passing yards. People are going to think, oh, no Nico Collins, that's bad for CJ Stroud. It's actually proven to produce, like he's actually doing a little bit better without Nico Collins. So just something to keep in mind there when it comes to CJ Stroud props today for the Houston game. Game start 3 p.m. Eastern time, then 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We are here every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Good luck to all of your bets. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to WagerTalk. We have hit 240K on the YouTube channel, which really means a lot to everybody here. 250K, Kelly says there will be a promotion. So if you could get your friends and everybody to subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel and get to 250K, there'll be something for everybody. Nice little prize. Again, good luck to all your bets. We will see you guys next week here on Sunday's Last Call, the last one before the Super Bowl. Sunday Last Call, 11 a.m. Eastern time, always. So we'll see you next week.